This is the story of how ordinary people and a failing video game retailer exposed the American stock market for the rigged scam that it is, and why you should care about it. So that you can understand what's going on, I'm going to cover a couple basic things as quickly as possible. The stock market allows you to buy shares of any publicly traded company. Let's say I buy 100 shares of Apple at $145 a share for a total of $14,500. 8 months later, Apple is at $200 a share and my shares are now worth $20,000 and I made $5,500 profit. Inversely, if Apple went down to $100 per share, my shares would now be worth $10,000 and I just lost $4,500. The price of a stock goes up when buying pressure outweighs selling pressure and goes down when selling pressure outweighs buying pressure. Basic supply and demand. In the stock market, you can also make money when a stock price decreases by shorting it. By shorting a stock, you're betting that the stock price will go down. Let's say I borrowed a share of Apple and sold it to the market for $145. If Apple goes down to $100, I buy the share back, return it, and make a profit of $45. The downside of short selling is that it involves infinite risk. A stock price can go up forever. If I short Apple at $145 but the price goes to $1,000, I lose $855 per share borrowed. When an investor purchases stock through any major broker, Robinhood, Public, Webull, Fidelity, Vanguard, E-Trade, etc., the broker sends your order to the market maker. The market maker then matches a buyer with a seller and the trade is completed. Market makers pay brokers to send their orders to them. Why? Because market makers themselves can also trade in the stock market. They use info of incoming orders to gain an advantage in the stock market and make huge profits. This is illegal in many countries, but not in America. The largest market maker in America is Citadel LLC. Citadel manages over $400 billion in assets and they facilitate 40% of all retail investor trades every single day. Citadel's CEO is a man named Ken Griffin. He's the 34th richest person in America and a super important character in this whole GameStop saga. Alright, I know that was a lot and I hope you're still with me. So to recap, a stock market lets you buy and sell stock in publicly traded companies. The price of a stock moves up when there's more buyers than sellers, and it moves down when there are more sellers than buyers. You can make money off of a stock price decreasing by borrowing a share, selling it to the market, and then agreeing to return it at a later date. Brokers send investors' orders to the market maker, and the market maker matches a buyer to a seller. Market makers pay brokers to send their orders to them so that they can trade based on the knowledge of those orders. You got that? Alright, I'm proud of you. Let's keep going. So this is where GameStop comes in. From 2013 to 2020, GameStop share price plummeted from $50 per share to $3. Why? Despite the gaming industry growing rapidly, GameStop executives failed to grow with it. Sales plummeted from almost $9.4 billion in 2011 to $6.4 billion in 2019. Obviously, short sellers took advantage of this. They shorted tons of GameStop shares and made tons of money from it. Citadel was one of the many hedge funds with huge short positions in GameStop. In fact, GameStop's short interest sat at a confirmed 226%. This means that more GameStop shares had been borrowed than even existed. How is this possible? Through an illegal practice called naked shorting. Naked shorting is the illegal practice of short selling shares that have not been affirmatively determined to exist. Ordinarily, traders must borrow a stock or determine that it can be borrowed before they sell it short. So naked shorting refers to short pressure on a stock that may be larger than the tradable shares in the market. A clever and charming investor named Keith Gill caught on to this in 2020. He realized that if GameStop stock price rose drastically, short sellers would be forced to buy back and return over 150 million shares. The buying pressure from this would create something called a short squeeze. A short squeeze is an unusual condition that triggers rapidly rising prices in a stock or other tradable security. For a short squeeze to occur, the security must have an unusual degree of short sellers holding positions in it. Sound familiar? The short squeeze begins when the price jumps higher unexpectedly. The condition plays out as a significant measure of the short sellers coincidentally decide to cut losses and exit their positions. Keith also knew that GameStop had a legitimate chance of making a comeback as a company. Keith predicted that positive earnings from GameStop would cause its share price to rise, which in turn would cause the short squeeze. Keith put his money where his mouth was and bought tons of GameStop shares. 200,000 of them to be exact. In September 2020, new GameStop chairman Ryan Cohen bought 7.5 million GameStop shares. This further reduced the shares available for short sellers to cover their short positions and increased the price of GameStop. In December 2020, he upped his stake to 9 million shares. GameStop's share price was slowly but surely rising. The noose was tightening around short sellers. On January 11, 2021, GameStop's share price closed at $19.94 per share. A huge increase from $3. Now that's when shit really hit the fan. GameStop's share price rose rapidly over the next 10 days and closed at $65.01 on January 22nd. The short squeeze had begun. On January 28th, GameStop opened at $265 per share. It immediately ripped to $483 per share. It looked like the mother of all short squeezes was about to happen. Life-changing wealth for countless investors everywhere. Billions of dollars was about to be transferred from rich hedge funds who got caught on the wrong end of a trade to everyday people. Brokers everywhere blocked investors from purchasing GameStop shares. With no buying pressure to keep the stock price up, GameStop cratered to a low of $111 on January 28th. Over the next week, it dropped all the way down to a low of $44. The backlash was monstrous. Everyday investors came face to face with the reality of the fact that the system is rigged against them. Wall Street sings the praises of a free market, then changed the rules of the game when they got caught on the wrong end of a trade. Public scrutiny turned towards Citadel and Ken Griffin. They had a lot to lose from a GameStop short squeeze, tens of billions of dollars. The public consensus was that Citadel threatened to stop paying brokers for order flow unless they blocked investors from buying GameStop. This is a big threat when you're a broker like Robinhood who gets 40% of their revenue from Citadel. On February 18th, when Ken Griffin was asked by Congress if he instructed Robinhood to block buying of GameStop, this is what he said.
But did you talk to them about restricting or doing anything to prevent people from buying, not selling, but buying in GameStop?
Let me be
anybody in your organization.
Be perfectly clear. Absolutely not.
New evidence from the Robinhood lawsuit tells us a different story. Here's an internal conversation between Robinhood executives. Gretchen Howard, Robinhood's chief operating officer, says, "Just an FYI that Dan and I are joining Jim at 5 p.m. on a call with Citadel. They reached out and want to speak this evening, and we believe they will make some demands on limiting payment for order flow across the board. We won't agree to anything but wanted to give you a heads up." Vlad Tenev, Robinhood CEO, says, "Okay, maybe this would be a good time for me to chat with Ken Griffin." In another conversation chain, a redacted user says anecdotal evidence that several very large firms are having really bad nights too. Jim Swartwout, Robinhood's president, responds with, "Everyone is. You wouldn't believe the convo we had with Citadel. Total mess." On top of that, knowing that brokers were going to turn off the buy button and tank the price the next day, Citadel reloaded their short positions overnight when no one could do anything about it. We all knew it for months, but now the evidence is here. Citadel colluded with Robinhood and other brokers to block investors from buying GameStop. On January 28th, they saved themselves from multi-billion-dollar losses and stole life-changing money from countless investors. On September 27th, hashtag Ken Griffin Lied was trending #1 on Twitter, and again the American system was exposed for the scam that it is. Twitter censored the hashtag in the trending tab in the US, and instead replaced it with other generic news. It just so happens that Citadel owns 5 million shares of Twitter. Surely there's no conflict of interest there. Now why should you care? Because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Crimes like this happen all day, every day, right under our noses. America is totally and utterly controlled by big business. 2 companies control 90% of all media outlets in America. Everything we watch, read, or listen to. They totally control Big Pharma, every major company in America, and they're also advisors to the biggest banks and central banks in the world. It's a well-oiled machine of crime that relies on you and I believing in the illusion of freedom that they've fed to us. It relies on us continuing to fight each other on every single issue under the sun. The only reason they got caught in the case of GameStop is because a few people dared to shake off the illusion and look closely. Like George Carlin said,
"It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it."
The evidence is out there for everyone to see. Now we'll see if regulators will step in to help the little guy or if they'll confirm what we all know. that they aren't for us and never were. Personally, I'm not holding my breath.
Keeps on raining, left is gone.